Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be sharing how I outlined my fantasy novel. But before I get to that, I'm going to give a little bit of background information. In 2018, I started writing my fantasy novel with a writer friend in South Korea. We went to local cafes together and we would share our work with an English professor on the campus there. And at the time, I was very inspired and I thought that it would be a breeze to write through my first draft, but by the time I got to chapter 9, I was stuck. The characters weren't fleshed out, the world building was lackluster, and the plot just started to fall apart. So I decided to do what anybody does when they need answers. I went to YouTube. So I was on booktube and on authortube watching videos on how people plot their stories, world build, do character designs, all of this. And I got some good tips and I started using Scrivener, and I also would use index cards to plot my story on a poster board, and I filled out a lot of character charts. And I read the book called Save the Cat. All great, but I needed more. So I decided to switch my major from global affairs to a Bachelor of Fine Arts in creative writing. And through that program, I learned so much information. And now I believe that I have the perfect outline. So, how did I outline my novel? The first thing you're going to do is get in your head, what are the scenes that I just cannot stop thinking about? You're going to do one thing with these scenes. Fill out a beat sheet. Some people really love the beat sheet from Save the Cat, and the one that I created is loosely based off of that. So, what are the beat sheet points? First, you're going to have the opening scene. This is the hook for the reader. Then you're going to have the introduction to the world. How am I introducing the protagonist, their status quo life? Then you're going to have a catalyst. This is the inciting incident. Then you have contemplation. This is when the protagonist has to start thinking about how they're going to solve their problem. Then you've launched them into the journey. Once you get through the journey, you want to say what the resolution is, and this is where the problems are being solved and the story is starting to wind down. And then you have after the storm. After the storm is giving the readers a little bit of clarity of what is next for the protagonist. If there is a series that's going to be involved, it may be the book is being left open or there's some closure here. But these are just the top scenes that you really want to have playing out in your novel. But it's not going to be detailed just yet. Then you're going to have the chapters. So on this Google document or Word document, wherever you decide to have the beat sheet and the chapters, you're going to list out chapters 1 through 25. I thought 25 would be a good way to just have a good number of chapters. Some people might have more chapters for their book, some people can have less. So you go chapter 1 and list chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, all the way to chapter 25. What you're going to do now is have 3 scenes per chapter. It's important to decide how many scenes you really want per chapter so that you can pace the story really well. And each scene has a purpose that you want to have progress the story forward. So, to start, you're going to have 3 scenes per chapter. You can take away or add depending on the vibe you want to leave your reader on by the end of each chapter. So, you've written all of this out. What do you do with it? Again, the purpose of an outline is not only to flesh out your work, but to really pace yourself and make sure each scene is serving a purpose. You have the beat sheet, you know where each incident is going to be important, but another thing you want to do is have the 3-act story structure. Act 1 is the introduction to the characters' lives and their status quo again. Then you have Act 2, which is when they're going on their journey and they finally have decided what they're going to do and their main mission. Then you're going to have Act 3, with that is the resolution, the falling action, all of that. And you're going to say Act 1 starts in chapter 1 and ends in chapter 6, scene 2. This is all just hypotheticals, but you fill this out. Act 2 starts in chapter 7, scene 2, scene 3, and it ends in chapter 15 or chapter 16, scene 1. All of this is so you can fully see this is where my book starts to take its turning points. And once you've completed that, you really want to start thinking, if you want your book to have an overarching theme. I think a lot of writers, when they start writing their book, or they want to kind of talk about a societal issue, but not something that's so on the nose that someone can be like, oh, you're talking about this, you're talking about this. It's something where the reader can be like, this reminds me of this issue, or it's vaguely like, So one thing that I would say that you can really add to your story at the end of writing the outline is saying, when I read my book outline, what is this trying to tell me about the world? And that will be your theme. I think this is something important to keep you really centered on what you're writing when you get into the drafting stage. So I said all of this to say, I finally finished my outline, and now it's going to be all about finishing my first draft. So in May, I'm going to be doing a full-on writing sprint, and it's going to be insane because I've never fully committed to writing sprints daily. So if you want to see me go through this process of finishing the first draft to my fantasy novel, definitely check out my next videos. And good news for you, I'm going to be leaving a template for this outline in the description box below. So I hope that you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I will see you in the next video. Bye!